This is the Weed Metal pedal. That's right, today we're checking out the brand new Does It Doom Weedeater signature Weed Metal pedal. This pedal was literally years in the making, and I've sort of gate-kept it for a couple years since we've had the prototype, hoping to eventually get Dixie and Shep on board to do it. We approached them earlier this past year, seeing if they wanted to do it, and they were on board. So here we are today, super excited to finally get it out and released for everybody to check out. Now, anyone who's ever been to a Weedeater show knows just how crushing the guitar and bass tones are from that band. Just absolutely punishing when it comes to Dixie's bass tone mixed with Shep's guitar tone. And so what we did today was faithfully recreate the two pedals that those guys have used since the very early days of the band and put them into a single pedal on a parallel blend. So the Weed Metal pedal here features a parallel blend of two different pedals, one being very iconic within the scene, the other being fairly obscure and unknown. So first up, Shep. Shep has always used some variant of Big Muff. Most often these days, he's been using a green Russian reissue, but in years past has used many different Big Muffs.
I've basically been using a Big Muff, some variant of it, the entire time I've been in this band, and before I've used the silver, the black, I've used the nano muff, I've got a triple muff and a bass muff and a white muff, and I don't know, like a triangle muff. I think there's another one.
Got a
lot of different ones, yeah. But I even have one that has the tube in it and stuff. But for whatever reason, the green has always been my favorite.
So we decided to integrate a faithful recreation of what I believe is the best Big Muff circuit for doom and sludge metal, and that is the V7B Tall Font Green Russian or Civil War era Big Muff. Now these muffs are exactly the same in terms of tone. Dixie's bass tone live to me is probably the best bass tone in all of stoner doom and sludge metal. Just absolutely thundering with those 2x15 cabs and his Sun Coliseum bass. But this JD10 is a significant element and a crucial part of that tone.
I used to use a Big Muff pedal as well in the beginning of this band. When I was playing with Buzz Oven, we recorded an album at Toe Studios in San Francisco, and Billy Anderson was recording that record, and he wanted me to try out one of the JD10, which is a Jerry Donahue signature pedal, and he basically used it to go straight to front of house without using an amplifier, just so it could easily travel and carry around a Telecaster guitar and that. And so Billy ran down the street and bought a JD10, brought it back, and we played it, and I loved it. And then I ended up immediately buying one, and I've bought them since online, just to try and find them and buy them, and people are always complaining that they can't find them, and I'm like, yeah, that's because I've got all of them, which is not really the fact, but I do have a lot of them.
This was essentially designed as a preamp for country legend Jerry Donahue. We integrated it on the rock setting rather than incorporating the switch between classic and rock, because Dave always uses the rock setting. So that's what we did. Schematics online were not correct. We built it to the schematics, didn't sound great, so we pulled it apart, measured everything, and built a faithful replica of this inside the Weed Metal pedal. It just sounds phenomenal. It also has a speaker simulation, which has become the toggle on the Weed Metal pedal. That integrates a speaker simulation of a mic'd G12T cabinet, so you can run it straight into your audio interface. The first time I heard a JD10 on bass, I wanted to do a million demos with it, but another side of me said, man, I need to hold out. We can get this in a pedal and it's gonna sound incredible. And we've done just that with the Weed Metal pedal. Truly a secret weapon when it comes to sludgy bass guitar tones.
So it was a really cool idea to do this, where we put basically two pedals together. His green Russian Muff, basically, and my JD10. And then there's, a blend knob on it, which we're calling sprawl, where you can turn it all the way to the left and get my pedal, turn it all the way to the right and get Shep's fuzz, or Big Muff. And then you can also blend those two, which I think is a great idea.
Absolutely.
That was Steve's idea, and that's genius.
Yeah,
great.
nice. One
pedal for two people. So if you play guitar and bass and wanted to multi-track and record something that sounded like what we do, you could use this pedal to do both, which I think is badass. It's a cool idea.
So as always, we trusted master circuit designer Nick Williams, formerly of Dunwich Amplification, to integrate those two pedals into a single pedal for the Weed Metal pedal. As far as control knobs go, the top row is all JD10. You've got the grovel control, which adjusts the gain of the JD10, then a 3-band EQ with treble, middle, and bass. Down below, we've got the controls for the Big Muff here. Grime controls the sustain or gain of the Big Muff, and then your standard Big Muff tone control. Then finally, you've got the batter control, which is the volume knob for the pedal, and then the sprawl control, which adjusts the parallel blend of the JD10 and the Big Muff. When it's all the way off or all the way to the left, you're full JD10. And when it's all the way to the right or pointed towards the fuzz controls, you are all Big Muff. So fortunately for this very first run, we've had Dixie Dave and Shep sign the pedals, making it easy to understand which side you have to set the knobs to hit what tone. When you set the control towards Dixie's name and you set the toggle towards Dixie's name, you've got Dixie's standard settings and all JD10. When you set the sprawl knob towards Shep's name, you've got full Big Muff. And as I mentioned, anywhere in between is going to parallel blend the two circuits. Finally, the toggle switch here, as mentioned, controls the speaker emulation on the JD10 when you set it to the left or towards the fist. You've got no speaker emulation when you set it to the right. You integrate that analog G12T speaker simulation. Now, as far as settings go, for Dixie's stock settings, you're gonna set the grovel around 2 o'clock, the treble around 10 o'clock, the mids around noon, the bass around 2 o'clock, and the batter around 2 o'clock. Sprawl, of course, all the way off or all the way to the left. And as I mentioned, toggle all the way to the left. Now for Shep's tone, you're going to crank the batter control, crank the grime control, and set the tone control right around 2 o'clock or so. As I mentioned, the rest of the controls aren't really gonna matter. So that's the basic Muff controls for Shep's preferred settings on guitar. One unique thing for the Weed Metal pedal that we have never actually done before is we did incorporate the option to run it on a 9-volt battery. Since Shep typically does not run any sort of power supply, he runs his pedal on a 9-volt, and so we incorporated that for you guys and for him. But of course, you can always run it on a standard center negative tip 9-volt power supply, which is how Dixie runs it in his rig. Now, a couple key points the guys clued me in on to really nail the Weedeater guitar and bass tones. On guitar, you're gonna wanna play on your neck pickup with your volume and tone set to max. Shep obviously uses a Les Paul Custom in D standard, so that's what I've played for the demo here today. For Dixie Dave's P bass, we are tuned to D standard. We've got the volume at max and the tone rolled all the way off. Critical to nailing that Dixie Dave bass guitar tone. I also want to say how stoked we are to have this pedal featuring the iconic Weedeater, God Luck, and Good Speed Fist, illustrated by none other than the legendary Eric Roper. Chris at Earthward Art handled the layout, and this thing just came out looking absolutely incredible. As I mentioned, this very first run is hand signed by Dixie Dave Collins and Dave Shepard. So head on over to doesitdoom.com, get your hands on the Weed Metal pedal. This is a limited run, and we can't wait for you guys to check them out. This thing just sounds absolutely incredible. Nick did a phenomenal job matching the reference tones on the V7B Muff and the JD10. I can't wait for you guys to check it out. So head on over doesitdoom.com, get you a Weed Metal pedal, and always remember, Tony Iommi is your friend.